Good morning, everyone. I welcome today's speaker and the participants for this AICTE-sponsored 6 days online HTTP on mitigation of power quality issues in distributed generation systems using custom power devices, Phase 2. Now, I welcome Dr. P. Usharani, Professor and Coordinator of this HTTP program, to introduce the today's session speaker. Welcome you, ma'am.
Good morning to Dr. Dattatreya Goyankar sir and dear participants. I welcome Dr. Goyankar, Associate Professor, NIT Surathkal. I welcome you sir for accepting our invitation. I thank once again, even in your busy schedule, you are accepting our schedule. Professor has completed BE in Hubli 1998, MTech NIT Surathkal in the year 2003, PhD from IIT Roorkee 2008. He is having 15 years of teaching experience. Today, Professor will be taking the topic smart grid operation and control, issues and challenges, the areas of interest, power system operation and control, distributed generation systems, power electronics. Professor has completed 3 projects, CPRI. Under his guidance, the PhD degree awarded 6 members, ongoing 5, books published, distributed generation, and book chapter, performance of micro turbine generation system in grid connected islanding modes of operation, Austria, Mintech publication, international journals 36, international conferences 51, achievements, PASCO PS award, member of task force committee on distribution and DG under NPP of Ministry of Power, executive committee member IEEE PES Bangalore. I request Dr. Goyankar sir to take over the session. Please, sir.
Okay, thank you, madam, for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to this workshop. I think you people having wonderful sessions. It might have started on 17th. This thing, a lot of speakers might have talked about various topics. So we'll start our presentation. Is it required to wait, or how will do?
Sir. No, sir, we can start our presentation, sir. They will be coming to start.
Yeah, this is up to 12 o'clock, no?
Yes, sir. 1.5 hours you can handle, and half an hour questionnaire session, sir.
Okay.
Or you decide, sir. You decide kindly.
Okay. And is it that interaction, these things, or we can go ahead with our presentation first and then the question answer session?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As per your wish, you proceed, sir.
Okay, because you too. And also, if there is, if you are not able to see my PPT or something, you can get back to me immediately so that we can correct it. Otherwise,
yes, sir,
I here and at that other end, you might not be noticing the things. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll do, sir.
We'll go ahead. I will.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hello, madam. Are you able to see the PPT?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
You are able to. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You are able to view it properly. Is there any problem?
No problem, sir. Viewing properly.
Okay. So.
Yes, sir. No, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay. We'll go ahead with the topic. Okay. So.
Yes, sir.
Of course. Thank you for the invitation, and we'll go ahead with the topic. This thing, as you know, you might have heard about the smart grid. Okay, so this is an evolving thing that there are a lot of things are happening in our what you call the electrical power system. Okay, so the powers, as you know, like many things become a smart, as you know what is mean by a smart thing. Okay, so electrical powers, electrical grid, that is the power system also becoming smart. Okay, so what exactly smart, what exactly the challenge in operating this smart grid, what makes the grid smart? Okay, all this we'll be discussing here. And also initially I will talk about what exactly the issues in the power grid, why that issue is, and then what are those challenges. Okay, and then what how you can overcome the challenge with my own experience and as well as my own the results. Okay, so we'll talk about the microgrid technology, and then how exactly the it can be implemented with the real-time hill tool results. Okay, so that's what we'll go ahead with this today. Okay, so as you know, the content of the this thing, of course, these are the overview of the content what we'll talk about today. Okay, so this just gives you the highlight of what we will deal with in a or what I will deal in my talk. Okay, so hope all of you know the power system structure. All of you might be from the electrical background. Okay, so you might be knowing the existing power system structure. Of course, when I say existing, there is a lot of changes already happening, and there is a change in the structure is also is the power system is also undergoing the change in the structure. Okay, so we'll just look into that, what exactly mean by the power system. Of course, it is a very highly complicated connected network. Okay, so the conventional power system, we know we generate power in one particular in a bigger scale in terms of thousands of megawatt, like the current thermal generation, hydel generation, and generation kind of a system. Okay, and then we distribute that to what you call the customer through what you call the transmission lines, and then from a some substation will again distribute the power to individual customer. So that means if you talk about the component of power system is the generation, we generate power, transmission, we transmit, and then we distribute to the customer. Okay, so loads, the customer who operates the load. Okay, the load, distribution system, transmission system, and generation becomes part of power system. So you might be knowing now what exactly the power system and its component: generation, transmission, distribution, and the loads. Okay, now this kind of the system is is a highly interconnected, like generating stations of one particular place get interconnected with many other place. Okay, so and also this interconnection is happening at every level. Okay, so generally the power system is highly interconnected or highly the complicated network because of its high the interconnection, and there are a lot of issues also. Okay, so the we can say that the power system is an highly interconnected non-linear kind of a network. Okay, very difficult to ascertain the performance this thing because of the non-linearity. So we'll have what is called a local network, several local network connected. We'll have a state grid, and then we'll have what you call the national grid. Okay, of course, and later the international grid also. Okay, so like some of the part of the world. Okay, so some countries, one country network get connected to other country network, which may become a international grid. Of course, in Indian context, we have a national grid. All states are connected to a national grid. Power grid is operating this national grid. Okay, so the states grid, okay, individual states networks are get connected, and the local network for individual regions network get connected to state grid. That's how the power system is got built in. So you might be clear about the component of power system and what is the grid, the state grid, and the national grid. Of course, what we see the traditional power system, that is, we generate power maybe at a certain voltage level, maybe at 13 kilovolt or around that value. Okay, and then we increase the voltage. Okay, and then transmit it. You know the benefit of increasing the voltage, and then it goes to the distribution system substations where it step down the voltage and then transmit and then distribute it to the consumer. So at the consumption level, it may be 230 volt or 415 volt. Okay, at the transmission level, it's maybe a 750 kV or higher than that. Even people talking about 1100, 1200 kV systems also. Okay, so that is a range at the transmission level. Okay, so apart from this traditional system, some other loads may require different kind of what you call the frequency and voltage. Current, the traditional grid is operating at 50 hertz, whereas some other loads may require different frequency. Okay, like the airplane and spaceships, submarines also may require a different kind of frequency for their own operation. They also form their own power system. It is not that what we see traditional system is only the power system. It is not so. There is the other kind of a system where they require a different supply characteristics, like a different frequency range and the voltage. That will happen in case of a airplane, spaceship, as well as some of a power system. This is where the characteristics of the supply are different. Apart also, now and then we are all hearing about what you call the vehicles. Okay, so currently all of the automotive applications are on the what you call the fossil fuel, that is either petrol or diesel or the gas. Of course, in the future or the present, the people are what you call talking about the electrical vehicle. Okay, the vehicle will have a battery maybe at 12 volt or a different kind of things may work at different this one. Okay, so it can form its own power system. It is of DC, whereas the traditional systems are of AC in the nature. Whereas in automotive applications, we do use a DC generally. Okay, of course, you can also use the AC also. Okay, so generally we talk about the DC there, DC application. Okay, so that also forms its own power system. You can imagine the voltage requirement here. The traditional grid voltage requires around 230 or 415 volt. Okay, so that, and also, you know, you are all people, we are all utilizing what you call the mobiles or many gadgets. They are all fed by a battery. Okay, which may have a different voltage. Some may work at 3 voltage, some may work at 2 voltage, some may work at different kind of voltage levels. Okay, so those are also a power system only. Okay, so that does not mean that power system is the one which we see traditionally. Okay, which works at 50 hertz and 230 volt. We may have a DC system also. That's also kind of a power system. Okay, of course, future is a maybe mixed kind of a system. Okay, both AC and DC. So you might be clear now about other kind of power system also. Okay, maybe in automotive applications, and then the airplanes, they may require a different supply characteristics. Okay, so power system may be characterized, maybe classified based maybe the supply characteristics. Okay, so you might be clear about the power system picture, because this is very important before going to the actual issue in the smart grid. Okay, so you might be knowing now the structure of the power system. Apart from that, okay, you will have a lot of control equipments in a power system. It may be required, it is required in all kind of this power system. The control equipments are required, coordination is required, all these are required because the consumer loads will keep varying. Okay, we do not know how load will varies. Only we can predict. Okay, but it all depends upon the individual customer. Okay, how he operates his load. Okay, whereas the what you call the grid side parameters required to keep it constant, whatever may be the voltage or the whatever may be the variation in the load, you need to keep this network parameter constant. Okay, so that is what is the thing which we have to look into later. Okay, so you require a lot of control equipment and coordination. Okay, so you generate here, we do not have a control. Okay, we have a control other this thing, so you need to balance that. Okay, so which we will look into slowly in our present in our talk. Okay, now what is that required in a power system? How what is the thing which you need to consider to operate the power system, what you call the properly, or in the sense you need to operate the power system properly, so that there will not be any problem will takes place in there or in the operation. Okay, as you know, in the case of a power system, if you are able to, as I told you, the load will keep varying and generation is in your control. Okay, that is what I am talking about, the traditional system, not the what you call the current evolving system. Okay, so you require to balance your generation and the load. Okay, so as long as you are able to balance the load, which will keep varying, you can see from morning to evening the load will keep varying. Okay, and generation is in your control. Okay, you need to balance the generation and the load. Okay, so if you are able to balance that, then you can keep your network parameter. Each important thing is the voltage and the frequency. Okay, so the goal of the power system is operation is to keep voltage and the frequency constant. If I talk about the power system, you may have 230 volt and the 50 hertz. The keeping these two, if you are able to keep these two parameter constant, so you may you are what you call the successful in operating power system properly. Okay, so keeping these two are becomes very important. But to keep these things, you have to make balance always between the load and the demand. But this is what is the problem. You cannot what you call dictate things to the customer to vary load according to your wish, because it is the customer to decide how he has to operate his load. Okay, so balancing this becomes a very important challenge in power system. Of course, the current traditional system, you have what you call the control over a generation. Okay, only thing this side is varying. Okay, but what is happening is in a smart grid, there is both side may vary. Okay, which we will look into later. Okay, so what is the complexity? Okay, why this is difficult to keep voltage and frequency and balancing the things? Okay, this is because the what you call the structure of power system. You know, the power in a traditional system. Okay, the power flows from what you call a generation to the consumer in a unidirectional network. In the sense unidirectional way, there is no generation source were allowed in the distribution network. Okay, so no issue of generation here. So power has to flow only in one direction. This is a kind of a structure is called passive. Okay, this is a kind of a structure is called the passive network. Okay, so and also the centralized and passive architecture. Okay, so the traditional system is that. Okay, very complex network because it's highly integrated. Every state, you know, the complexity. Okay, thousands of load at village level, then village to different level, then region, then state, then national. It's highly complex. Okay, and it's a complicated to control. Okay, the balancing the generation and demand is always difficult. Okay, because the load will keep varying. Okay, so and there is no much flexibility in the traditional grid because it is what you call very, because you cannot compensate locally because you don't have the earlier case the permission to have your own generator were not possible. Okay, so that is, and there are a lot of flexibility because you have to get it supply from the central generation only. Of course, no ideal voltage source exists. Load will never be constant, it will keep varying. Okay, so the network is highly non-linear. It has all kind of resistance, inductance and capacitive things. Okay, and there is no redundancy in the network. Okay, and as you know, the current the transmission and distribution losses. Of course, when I say current, the transmission distribution losses are also changing. Okay, you can talk about the losses maybe in our system is around 20%. Okay, of course, people the world average is less than that. Some of the countries operating their network less than even 10%. Okay, some maybe Japanese and other networks are operating around 4 to 5% of the T&D loss. Okay, so T&D loss becomes very important because you have a long transmission line, lot of equipment, everything connected to deliver power to customer. And the stability is also become a very important issue. And then the system is vulnerable to lot of the attacks. Okay, so maybe cyber attack and other things are also the issue of concern because now everywhere the computer is utilized and a lot of softwares and other things which can have easy you can the people can manipulate those things. Okay, so there is what you call this is the complexity in the traditional network. Okay, so you should know what is the complexity, why the power system control is complex. Okay, what is the aim or the goal of the power system is to keep operation is to keep voltage and the frequency. Okay, you need to keep voltage and the frequency constant. Okay, so this is what is the problem in power system operation as well as the goal of operation. Then once you know the traditional system, okay, so remember the traditional system is generating one side, supplying to the customer on the other side. So in the traditional systems, okay, so there was no possibility of connecting a generation source at the customer level. Of course, the things are changing now in the era of smart grid. Okay, so you have a unidirectional nature of power flow. Okay, but what you call with a traditional system. Okay, so if you in a very what you call the how the traditional system can be made smart. So by making what you call you can by the measuring and understanding the or getting the data, you can make the system smart. That's a very what you call the broad way I can define. Okay, so that's what when I talk about smart grids, the people may tell that the current grid with an IT becomes a smart grid. It is not so exactly. Okay, there are many other things also. It becomes a very important to make the grid completely the smart grid. Okay, so there are the possibility, okay, in the making our grid more smarter and to avoid the complexity what we had just discussed. Okay, so if you talk about what is a smart grid, okay, the smart grid, there is no exact definition. What may look smart for me may not be smart exactly to you. You may require some more feature to say that it is smart. Okay, so it is not only in IT, there are so many things required. And of course, the smart grid without a renewable may not solve our major problems. Okay, so if you talk about smart grid, then I can say a grid which is of information based, okay, and communicating, which is talk about more of IT, okay, and the secure grid, and also the grid must be required to correct problems on its own. There must be some mechanism to correct or the heal the problem on its own, like to correct a fault, okay, all those things, self-healing mechanism. It should be reliable. I need to get power 24/7. So because our dependency on the electric power is keep increasing, okay, because of the lot of gadgets and other things, okay, and the grid is flexible, okay. So if there are a lot of flexible feature is required, okay, and the cost effective and dynamically controllable. A grid having this feature, an electrical grid having, the component of electrical grid, generation, transmission, distribution. Apart from that, having this feature, okay, and the renewables, then that particular grid can be called as smart grid. Of course, the previous speaker might have talked about talked about smart grid, but this is how we can define the smart grid. Okay, grid should be self-healing. Okay, the communication, this thing IT, it should be reliable, the flexible, and the cost effective, and of course dynamically controllable. In real time, you should be able to control your grid. Okay, so as you know, these are all complexity have come up in our traditional grid is because the introduction of the what you call the renewables. As you know, the concept of generation is changing. Okay, in the traditional we talked about generating a big, very high, large amount of power and transmitting to somewhere else. Okay, but that kind of concept is changing. Okay, so you can generate wherever exactly required. Okay, instead of generating one place and transmitting to somewhere else where it is required. Okay, there exist the major role of what we call the renewables sources. Apart from renewable, there are some other sources also. We can club them as distributed generation sources. Okay, the renewable, when I talk about it, is a wind and solar. Okay, we see only these two things are coming up. All other in the what we call the they are not that much potential. Okay, so the renewable sources are making our grid more the what we call the complex, as well as they have their own the advantage. Of course, we'll see. Okay, so they are making our grid more what you call the difficult to control, or they're posing a lot of challenges in operation of our grid. Okay, if you have a smart grid only with IT, it may not solve many of this, or many of these things may not be solved. Okay, so the smart grid without renewable may not be much difficult to control. Okay, only you can able to measure some quantity through IT, and you can see deploy some mechanism to make it as a smart. Okay, so apart from generation, okay, in the present, the traditional grid, we were not talking about much on storage. Okay, storage also becomes a very important option. Okay, so in case, so combining all these things, okay, an electrical grid having all these features with the renewable storage sources is called a smart grid. Hope you might be clear about what exactly is a smart grid. Of course, people may add up different feature to make it a smart. Okay, so these are all, it's evolving thing. Okay, so what we talk about smart grid for Indian context may not be the same for some other part of the world. Okay, they may be thinking to make smart by only implementing IT or something. Okay, these are all is currently happening. Okay, so the smart grid challenge, a electrical grid having generation sources which are of renewable in nature as well as other kind of sources near to the consumer, okay, has many challenges in control and operation. Okay, so we'll talk about the challenges as well as the integration of the renewables in the smart grid, okay, and also the solution in this presentation. Okay, so then what exactly, of course these are all you might be already knowing about. Okay, what is the kind of a renewable sources, okay, which are non-renewable sources which are coming up at the distribution level or at the transmission level. Okay, and also how these generation sources are getting connected to the network. Okay, so that also you might be knowing it. Okay, just for continuity, I am just talking about those things. Okay, before going to issue, because knowing these sources becomes very important to provide a solution and to understand the problem. Okay, so you know, we are the last 15 to 20 years we are talking about the renewables in our grid. This all started when the smart grid concept came into picture. Okay, so and then there are a lot of people who are started talking about the renewable sources. Okay, the wind and the solar kind of things. Of course, there are many other things which are not of that much potential, and we may not see in the next 20 to 50 years, we may not see the contribution from them much. So we talk about the wind and photovoltaic system, the solar panels and the wind will rule our grid. Okay, apart from that non-renewable technology, we talk about energy efficiency. The current thermal power stations having an efficiency around 24%. Okay, so people talk about the clean coal technology, it may have a 30% kind of efficiency. I am talking about overall efficiency. Okay, so but if you have a system which works in a which based on the conventional fuel having very high efficiency, like this may be around 60%, okay, which is a remarkable improvement. So why can't you deploy that kind of a technology? That is called an energy efficient technology. If you talk about a micro turbine or the fuel cell, which may be coming as a non-renewable because they do use the conventional fuel, which generally called as an energy efficient. Then how do you interconnect these things? We have traditional things like induction generator and synchronous generator. Apart from that, you know, the currently last 10 years, we have done a lot of work on a power electronic interface systems. Okay, of course, we'll talk about that because the future is because this is a very important thing which is required in case of integrating these renewables. Okay, so we may not much do with this kind of a system, which may be difficult, so we do may not offer many advantage. So this is going to is offering a lot of advantage to control and solve the problem. Okay, so and also, you know, you can operate in DG systems in case the renewable system in an isolated way or interconnected way. So these are all concepts you might be knowing already. Okay, so then how do you interconnect? Because when I talk about the issue, I should also know how you interconnect the system. Okay, like these are not like a conventional. Okay, the conventional, the common thing is you are using synchronous generator, the turbo alternators in all kind of application, whether it's a thermal, whether it's a nuclear, whether it's idle. We are using one kind of technology. That is not true in case of the renewable sources. Each one has its own characteristics. Wind uses wind turbines. Photovoltaics generate a DC. Okay. So using the
Sir, PPT is not visible, sir.
screen is not visible.
Sir, kindly pin to Professor's screen, sir.
Which
Screen
one?
is visible. Kindly you pin to Professor's screen.
Okay, okay, okay.
Kindly continue, sir.
This is you are able to see my PPT?
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. Then I will go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So there are what you call the wind turbine we do use. Okay. And in case of photovoltaic system, we do use what you call the solar panel. Okay. And then in case of a wind, we may use this conventional generator, but they may not offer much advantage or flexibility in control. So we may use what you call the power electronic interface. Okay, so that becomes a very important in integrating the DG system. Okay, so traditionally the synchronous generator, you know, the conventional generator, it has its own what you call the advantage as well as some issues in while in control. Okay, so it can feed the fault, the large fault current may get fed to the system. Okay, and also it has its own advantage. Induction generator, it so require its own reactive power support. Okay, so you may not able to control voltage. Okay, all this have their own feature, but of course the current upcoming systems we may not much use this kind of generator. These are the conventional things. Okay, so what we are seeing is the major is the power electronic interface. Okay, so this is becoming an answer for most of our integration, what you call the integration of the DG system. You may able to connect any kind of either generation source or storage to grid through power electronic interface. There are several topologies are there in power electronic interface. Okay, so people are coming up with their own topology. You also can come up with your own topology for integrating. There are a lot of opportunities. Control of this operation also becomes very important. Recently, these matrix converters are also coming up, which are replacing the concept of cycloconverter earlier. Okay, of course, the back-to-back converter things becoming very important in case of integrating the renewables. So power electronics also can be utilized. When I talk about power electronic converter, they are inertialess, which offers more flexibility in controlling active and reactive power. In case of a DG, you know, the main purpose is to inject or require active and reactive power. If you are able to control this active and reactive power at a faster rate, okay, more flexibility is possible in the grid. Okay, whereas in a traditional system like a synchronous generator, it has its own inertia. Okay, it may not respond in the same speed as that of the power electronic converters. Okay, so that's where these have their own advantage. Okay, now just before going actually into the system, we'll just look into the how do we interface. I will not go in exact detail of particular topology or something, because I will look into the issues. Okay, because these issues depends upon the topology. Okay, so if you talk about a wind system, okay, so wind can be integrated with a traditional induction generator. It requires a reactive power support, or the current generation system at a higher capacity are utilizing what you call a double fed induction generator. Okay, when I talk about double fed, you can see the stator as well as the rotor. You can be connected or integrated to the grid through supply to supply the environment. Okay, so of course you may have a gear system or without gear also. Okay, so you can directly integrate a turbine through shaft mechanism to the corresponding generating system, and then you may use the power electrons. Of course, this requires a power electronic interface. Okay, so this is a kind of systems or old kind of systems. Okay, so here this is a power electron offers a lot of flexibility in control. And if you talk about the upcoming systems, they are all depends upon the permanent magnet synchronous generator. It has its own advantage compared to this. Okay, the permanent magnet synchronous generator is more rugged in structure. It uses a permanent magnet. It's not like a conventional synchronous generator. But it requires what you call the definitely the power electronic interface, back-to-back converter interface. Okay, so that is integrated to the grid. Okay, so this is becoming the important thing in case of a small wind turbines. Of course, now the bigger wind turbines also coming up with this kind of structure. Okay, so this offers a lot of flexibility in controlling reactive and active power support. Okay, so here also possibility partially you can control. Okay, you can have the fully controlled also. Okay, so these two are the becoming a very important part. So you can see the power electronics playing a major role. Okay, so then if you talk about the solar system, okay, so the conventionally, as you know, the solar system, the panel generated DC. It's not like a wind system where you get AC. Okay, and then you convert into DC, and then you again convert back to AC. It all depends. Okay, but solar system traditionally DC. Okay, so you require to modify the DC power and then convert back into AC, because if you don't do that, you cannot connect a DC to AC grid. So you have to modify it and then connect to AC grid. Of course, another important parameter is our grid is operating at a constant voltage and the frequency, whereas these kind of sources may not generate a power at constant voltage and the frequency what we desire. Okay, so that is a very important challenge. Okay, so you require to make sure that whatever you what you call the integrate, it should be as per the grid requirements. Okay, so traditionally the photovoltaic systems are interfaced with the boost converters and then the inverter system. Of course, these are very common. You might be seeing, you might be studied already the structure, the characteristics, everything, but you should know these things. Okay, so there's another part is what you call a micro turbine. You can see the micro turbine look like a refrigerator, what we are using in our homes and other things. Okay, so these traditionally require a power electronic interface. Okay, so there are different kind of design. The one design is called single shaft design, everything mounted on a single shaft. Okay, so it requires a bidirectional converter interface. Okay, so or it may use a rectifier inverter interface. Okay, so but these are very costly right now. They're talking about 1 kilowatt may cost you around 30 lakh or 40 lakh kind of the amount for a single system. Okay, whereas you talk about wind solar system, we talk about around 40,000 to 50,000 for the current generation solar system. If you talk about wind, it's around maybe 80,000. Okay, so but if you talk about this kind of sources, we talk about in terms of lakhs. Okay, so 1 kilowatt system maybe around 30 40 lakhs. For a micro turbine, if you talk about fuel cell, it is around 20 lakh. Okay, so they are very costly right now. We are not much what you call able to do with them, because there is a lot of the cost involved with this kind of a system. Okay, so this is the one thing which we have in our NITK 1 kilowatt fuel cell. This is another kind of a technology which also require a power electronic interface. This is exactly similar like the solar system. Okay, solar also generate DC, fuel cell also generate DC, but it is a chemical reaction there. This is a photovoltaic effect there. Okay, so it requires the similar interface. Okay, so this is a stack, fuel cell stack, what we have in our laboratory. and then the load, electronic load, and then there is will be an interface here. Okay, and then it requires an hydrogen. That is a very important. Okay, so it works on hydrogen. Of course, hydrogen is available maybe using a water. The what we are generating hydrogen using a water, that is possible there. Okay, so these also require a power electronic interface. Okay, so you should what you call the design this kind of things properly, so that you can able to operate them properly. Otherwise their characteristics will not match with that of a grid. Okay, you can see the characteristic of a fuel cell. Okay, so this is the region over which we are going to operate the fuel cell. Okay, so this is what is the source. Then what is the challenge? Okay, as you know, the traditional grid will generate power and distribute. Okay, but in the conventional grid, there are a lot of generation source getting integrated at the transmission, integrated at the what you call distribution level. They are also starting generating. When the load at this level is less than whatever you generate, power starts going back. That makes a network bidirectional. Okay, and in the traditional network, there were no possibility of this kind of power flow. And apart from that, this vehicle also will generate. You can integrate a battery to the grid, or you can draw power from a grid for charging battery. Okay, so you make the entire system becomes a passive. Okay, so what happens when you start generating more? The generation is more than the demand. Voltage goes up, moment to voltage goes up. All your equipment, everything will be in problem. Okay, the network get shut down because the network operator will have to ensure the voltage is within the plus or minus certain level. If not, they have to shut down their network. Security, reliable, the issues will come into picture. Okay, so there are a lot of issues get generated, and what may happen is sometime fault may happen. Solar system may get separated out, so that is may result into what you call an islanding of the system. Okay, so there are many issues will happen, because once the power goes starting back to this thing where it has to go, so entire network operation become more complex. Okay, so that kind of complexity is not there because it is a bidirection in the unidirection in the nature. Okay, so you can have a diesel generator, car, your vehicle, fuel cell, wind farm, solar, and there are many more may exist in a remote. Okay, so entire things become more complex. Okay, so what is happening is the current this thing is this kind of sources are increasing. Okay, in the say if you talk about Indian grid, right now we have around 20% penetration of these sources. Okay, still our grid is around 80%, 70 to 80% is dominated by this decentralized generation only. So this is the this kind of things will create a lot of issues. What are those issues? Of course, your smart the workshop is mainly deals with the power quality. Okay, so that is where very important issue will happen. Voltage will keep varying. Okay, because wind may keep blowing. As the wind blows, the output may keep varying, and this may create a variation in the voltage. Okay, and then your induction generator and other things may create further imbalance in the network. And also the traditionally our network is more unbalanced in nature. Okay, by adding more and more generation source and other things, it may create further unbalance in the network. Okay, and then there may be, as I told you, as the upcoming generation sources are more of power electronic based integration. Okay, there is a lot of possibility of the waveform distortion. That's what you call as a THD becomes a very important. This THD is a culprit which causes the heating of our system, which damages the insulation. Okay, so this, as you know, the power electronics becomes a very important things to integrate it offers lot of advantage. At the same time, it may create a lot of problem also. Okay. So another important issue is a steady state voltage rise. There may be a rise in the voltage as you keep generating. Okay, the demand, what you call the more than the generation more than the demand, there will be a rise in the voltage. Okay, so you know this is normally we know. Okay, and the islanding may happen. There may be rise in the fault levels. Okay, the current may goes up and the stability may get affected. Okay, and there may be lot of protection issue also. As you know, future we are talking about the DC, and DC has lot of problem with respect to protection because it doesn't have inherent what you call the natural zero, where you can what you call completely separate that network. Okay, so that is, and also there are a lot of possibility that the sources at the distribution level start feeding the network faults. Okay, which create the complexity, because traditionally networks are designed based on centralized generation concept. Okay, so we'll see that later. Okay, so these are the issues which will happen, okay, in a smart grid. Okay, smart grid without renewable, we cannot visualize that properly, because it is not that much difficult. Okay, if you talk about Indian context, we are talking about more and more integration of renewables into the grid. That is what our smart grid is. Okay, and then some amount of ITs to actually the operation, to know the performance and other things, and then later help in control. Okay, so these are very important issue which we'll see one by one. Okay, so suppose let us see how the voltage will rise. Okay, we'll see exactly with a simulation result. This is one network which was published in one of the literature. Okay, so the practical system which has a 5-bus network. Okay, so how a DG will cause the voltage rise. Okay, so assume a 5-bus network. Okay, so as you know, generally in case of the load flow analysis, we assume the loads are concentrated or dumped at one particular node. Okay, this is for analysis purpose. Of course, in real or practical network, loads are uniform, loads are distributed. It may not be uniform, they will be distributed all over the feeder. Okay, assume this 5-bus system, you can see the 5-bus system, and a DG is connected at one of the bus. Okay, assume it is at 4th bus. Okay, and you have a substation. Okay, the grid is represented by the substation, or entire network is represented by this symbol. Okay, as a substation. Okay, so this is a particular feeder. Okay, so assume a DG is connected, DG of 20 megawatt. Okay, which is of synchronous generator or any kind of a DG. When I talk about voltage issue, it is a terminal characteristics becomes very important rather than internal what you call the interface details. Okay, so assume this particular DG injecting this much amount of power. Okay, with this power pattern. Traditionally, suppose this DG is not connected. What you know is this network is a what you call the passive network when there is no DG. So these are all having what you call their own branch. Okay, each has its own impedance and other things. So there will be a what you call the fall in the voltage. So the last customer will have lesser voltage compared to the customer at near to substation. Okay, so if you analyze, or if you what you call simulate using the load flow what you call the software. Okay, so you see, and another thing, suppose this is a 11 kV network. Okay, 11 kV feeder. We have a feeder maybe at the 11 kV. Generally now distribution voltage level is rising. It's at 11 kV, maybe at the industry level. Okay, so generally what we do is because this customer may have a voltage problem. So what we will do is generally slightly rise the voltage level at this point. Okay, by using this transformer, you can keep the tap a little bit higher so that he will not get a voltage problem. Otherwise, the voltage will keep down and he will have a low voltage. Okay, so but at the same time, the rise in the voltage also will not violate the plus or minus 5% at this point. Okay, so generally we'll keep it a little bit higher, say 111.03 kilowatt. That is nothing but 1.03. Okay, so we keep it a little bit rise. Okay, so that is how generally practice is in the traditional network. So voltage keep falling. Okay, because there is no generation source. At the last customer, he will get this voltage level. Okay, so you can see this is a traditional profile. Suppose I connect a DG. Okay, so at this point, a 20 megawatt, this much. So voltage, you can see the profile. The voltage keep increasing, and you can see voltage at the fourth bus is maximum, and then it again keep downing. Okay, and the voltage limit is say plus or minus 5% or 6. This is UK standard. Okay, of course, Indian context we talk about plus or minus 5 volt. Of course, all over the world it is maybe around plus or minus maximum 10%. Okay, it is much lesser than that. You have to keep the voltage less than this, otherwise the network will be shut down, because utility has its own dictation, that statute, that always the voltage should be within this tolerance level. If not, they have to shut down these things, and then they have to control or regulate the voltage. You can see with the DG, the voltage is rising this to value. Okay, you can simulate this thing. Okay, and it is voltage is higher at the connection point. Okay, so what we can observe is, and suppose if you try to connect DG at the third bus, so you can see the voltage is just above the limit. What you observe here, as the voltage at the DG connection point is near to the substation, the rise problem is what you call you can see lesser voltage rise effect, but still there is above the limit. The utility will shut down the connection to the customer. Even though you have a generation source, you are not able to operate your network because you are not able to maintain the voltage level. Okay, so first observation is you are able to keep the voltage level. The voltage level is going above the limit, and at connection point, okay, fourth bus, it is a maximum here. If you move the DG connection near to the substation end, the voltage, what you call the rise effect is getting less. Okay, so but if you have a multiple DG, the system may further get influenced. Okay, but the connection, the voltage is always high at the connection point. So that observation you can make. Okay, you can do it for different bus systems. Okay, so one is the voltage rise at the connection point will be high. Another is as you going to near to the substation, the voltage rise effect will be lesser. Okay, if you go far away from the substation, the voltage rise effect will be more dominant. Okay, so you can see that thing. What traditional solution is, whenever the power, there is a voltage rise, what they may tell, you reduce the capacity of this source so that the voltage goes down. Okay, by injecting by lesser amount, you can reduce the voltage effect. Okay, suppose if I reduce the power to 10 megawatt, okay, the 50% of what actually it can. Okay, then I can see that the rise effect is lesser compared to this. Okay, you can see at fourth bus, if you reduce the capacity to 10 megawatt, the rise effect is less. But what you are doing, you are able to generate that much power Say suppose wind generator, the wind is blowing, you are able to generate power, but you are not able to tackle the problem. Okay, so you are asking the wind generator to shut down to reduce their capacity. That should not be this approach. Okay, so you should able to operate with its actual capacity. But what you are doing, you are asking to reduce. So if you reduce, you will get, still it is rise, you may require to further reduce. Okay, so you can see by reducing the capacity of inject or reducing the injected power, you can reduce the what you call the voltage level. Okay, so this is another important thing. And also the voltage rise also depends upon the network parameter. It depends upon the what you call the load. It depends upon the the impedance. Okay, but you cannot do much with this impedance. We cannot change the conductor now and then. What we can do is control this, and also you can also reduce. If I reduce this level to lesser, okay, then I can have a lesser voltage rise problem. Okay, so but you have to move the tap frequently. Okay, you may require, because if you assume now there may be many solar panels at individual buses, how do you control in that case? Okay, so this you can, by seeing this result, you can really observe that there is a possibility of voltage rise in the grid because of interconnection. That is what is happening in the smart grid. Okay, so this is another one issue. If there is an issue, there is a possibility of regulation. Okay, so you can, what you call, how do you regulate the voltage rise? Okay, so voltage rise can be regulated by changing the load, okay, or what you call, by using the compensators, okay, the STATCOMs and other things. As you know, this becomes a reactive power absorbers or suppliers. Okay, by controlling the reactive power, you can control the voltage that is in the traditional grid. Okay, or you can control the DG like what I shown the result to control the active and reactive power. Of course, in a power electronics based DG, you can control both. Whereas there is induction generator, you cannot control the Q because it requires a Q for its own operation. In a synchronous generator, you can control both. By controlling, you can exercise the reactive power control, then you can exercise the active power control to further down the voltage. You cannot afford to change the impedances. Okay, so this becomes a controller to a far distance. You cannot keep wearing the tap. It creates a wear and tear on the tap. What you can do is, the best solution is regulate the DG, compensators can be utilized. Okay, load is also, it depends upon the customer. Okay, so there are methods. What emerging methods are? Hybrid of this. You can combination, you can do regulate the voltage. Okay, so you can require a lot of, you people can do a lot of research on how do you regulate the voltage. You can come up with your own method. Intelligent based method also can be come up. You can come up with that method. There is a lot of possibility doing research on this. So many papers are coming out on the regulation of the voltage. Okay, so another important issue is an islanding. Okay, so what is that islanding? Okay, so islanding becomes a very important issue. Okay, so you assume a DG is connected in one part of network. Suddenly something happened in the system. This circuit breaker will operate because whenever fault happens at somewhere, the network fault current goes up. It exceeds the rating and separate. Now you imagine DG generating, loads are also there. DG can supply the load even though there is no connection from the supply. But problem is, who will match the demand and supply? If the demand is more here, generation is more than the demand, then voltage and frequency goes up. And even if the demand is more than the generation, then also the problem is there, you cannot feed the all load. So this separation may happen at any time. So this creates the problem. So the islanding means islanding occurs when a portion of the distribution system becomes electrically isolated from the remaining part of the power system, yet continues to be energized by the distributed generators connected to the isolated system. Okay, so this is another kind of problem. Okay, so it can be a power electronic based DC, it can be any other kind of a DC system. So islanding will happen. It causes a rise in the voltage and the frequency. The goal of the power system is to keep voltage and frequency, because your load is operating at a constant voltage and frequency. Then how will do that? Who will tell the DC that islanding is happening? Who will adjust the load and generation and demand? These are all very important issue. It is very important issue for an inverter based system. Synchronous generator can respond change in the load, whereas inverter will not be knowing. Then you may require to develop your own control methods. Okay, what we expect is there must be seamless operation, separate during the islanding. Whenever the fault is health, so system becomes healthy, connect it back to the grid. Okay, so seamless transmission is maybe required. You can observe the signature. When the islanding takes place, frequencies start deviating, it goes beyond the limit. Okay, the same thing is with respect to voltage also, which is maybe above the limit. Okay, so and there may be a transient may happen. Okay, so this becomes a very important issue in a smart grid. The islanding, which can cause the frequency and voltage variation, and power balance is also. And another one is when the grid gets separated, then where is the reference for the neutral earth reference? Okay, so these are all create a complexity in operation. Okay, so you should not expect this kind of situation in the grid. You should be able to maintain the voltage and frequency always, whatever may be happen on the grid. So this is another kind of issue. Okay, so islanding becomes very important. Okay, but as the recent standard, this is in 2018. This was a old one. Now they have updated in 2018. They say all inverter based systems which connect a photovoltaic system to the grid, as well as any other kind of interface, required to have capability to operate the system in islanding mode. They should be able to operate both in islanding and grid connected mode. Then, because it has a benefit, the customer get power always, whatever may happen on the grid, he will get power because the DC is there. Utility can earn when the power goes from the central, some other system, so feeders, you can operate other feeders by operating with the DG. Okay, so utility get benefited, society in general get benefited. So that is why IEEE says, IEEE 1547 2018, that is a recent standard. Okay, so this says that you need to implement. Of course, the current inverter systems are coming up with this. Then what is required? Detect an event that islanding has happened, like a fault is happened or some other things happened. Harmonics is very high level. Okay, then you detect, separate. Once you separate, you can operate part of the network. You can operate the part of the network, separating, and then once it's done, then you can reclose it, the network. So you do it in a seamless way. You do it in a seamless way. That's what is called the islanding operation. Okay, so you can just see the result. This is what we did for some system. Okay, so you can see the islanding happens, grid connected, variation in the load. Okay, and then the islanding. Okay, and then connect it back the grid. There should not be any transient happening. Yes, you know, whenever you try to connect it back, there will be a large voltage and current transients. Okay, and if you are not able to operate it properly, load and generation, then there will be an issue. We have done detect an islanding, transfer the control. This is very important for a power electronic base in a smart grid. Okay, and then transfer it to the what you call grid connected mode and connect it back to the grid. Okay, so you can see how the voltage get maintained. Even that is, we developed a grid what you call technique for islanding detection, and then they connect operated in islanding and then connected back to grid. You can see the same nature here. What I shown you, the signature here, the same thing can be visible here. That's what happens when suddenly voltage goes down, the load voltage, and then come back. So you should see to that the voltage is maintained. So this you can see through results. Okay, then other part is power electronic, the power quality problems. This whole workshop is about the power quality, how DG system get to influence the power quality. So this becomes a very dominant issue. Of course, I will not go into detail because previous speakers, Professor Bhim Singh and other thing might have talked about a lot of issues. He's an expert on this issue, okay, on this power quality or the related issues. I will not talk in more detail. I am only talking about what is required in case of a smart grid. As you know, most of the things are power electronic based things. Okay, so you will have a lot of issues. The unbalance issue. Okay, there may be unbalance. The harmonic issue, as you know, power electronic interface itself will cause generation of harmonics. As per recent standard says, harmonic should be maintained less than 5% for a grid connected system. It can vary up to 8% in case of an isolated. If you allow more harmonics, then heating will happen, insulation get damaged, and the equipment will maloperate, and the wind generation can cause the flicker. Okay, because the reason, as you know, wind will never be constant. It will keep varying. As the wind varies, the output power will vary, because wind output power is proportional to the cube of the wind speed. Okay, so this creates the what you call the fluctuation in the voltage. That's another problem. Okay, harmonics is the one problem. The individual harmonics as well as the THD total harmonics. The unbalance is another problem. Okay, like if you use an induction generator, older wind systems of induction generator, it requires a reactive power. If there is a slight unbalance in the network, it will try to further unbalance by drawing the reactive power. Okay, so there is a possibility of unbalance. And apart from this, you will have a lot of other issues. Okay, sag, swell issues and other things. Suddenly, group of generator gets switched off, or group of generator may be turned on. Okay, so this may create a situation where the voltage goes up, voltage goes down. As you know, assume in a feeder, okay, there will be a 10 generator. Okay, each switching on and off of generator will create a problem on the network. Okay, so there may be a sag and swell kind of event also, apart from harmonics, flicker and other things. Okay, so you can see the flicker, you can see the harmonics things, unbalance. All this becomes, apart from that, there may be several power quality issues may be there. Of course, if you have an issue, there are several solutions also. As you know, you might have already know this, some of the causes for this issue. DG is a one cause. Power electronic based DG is a one cause for this power quality problem. The same DG which solve the problem issues, at the same time it may cause the problem also, like injecting more harmonics. So if you develop a model, you should be able to make it sure that your model will not inject that much harmonics. Okay, then there exist other solutions. Okay, so we'll just, as the time is going up, okay, we'll quickly go to the issues before we go to the actual the microgrid thing. Okay, so another thing important is what you call the protection issue. Earlier in the system, traditional system, we will not be having this kind of generation. There were no generators in the distribution network. What happens if there is a fault? it directly gets fed by the centralized generation. Now, the circuit breaker at this point will see the fault current, its fault current, it will operate and separate fault. Now, assume a situation where solar photovoltaic systems are there. When fault happens, these are generation source, they will try to feed the fault. If they try to feed fault, the current coming from central generation goes low, and this particular circuit breaker will not see the fault current, it will not operate. Even though fault is there, the circuit breaker will not operate. Okay, and the fault current contribution of the individual generator depends upon the type of the system. If it is in inverter, it may be around this much current to the normal value. If it is synchronous generator, it may be around this value. Induction generator, similar value. Okay, when they try to contribute in this much amount, the circuit breaker will not see, and it may cause the blinding of protection. Even the fault is there, your circuit breaker will not operate. Then how do you do that? How do you solve this problem? Okay, so if large number of generators, earlier situation was not that. You might have calculated the fault current in your when you study in undergraduate switchgear and protection, you might have calculated the fault current only based on central generation, not considering this. But now, as these sources are coming, even now and then, people keep adding their generation source. How do you decide fault current then? If there is a variation here, as the protection system is what you call, they have a highly coordinated. Once failure happens, everywhere failure may happen, or some complexity may happen. So that is another kind of thing. How do you solve? And in case of a DC, you do not have a natural zero. Then how do you separate out the network? All these issues becomes a very important in those who want to do research on this, they can do that. Okay, the protection becomes a very important. Another is a fault stripping. Okay, this is another issue. Okay, there are many other issues may take place. Okay, like what happens is if what you call the DG at one feeder may feed the fault of other feeder also, then the healthy feeder where DG is there may see the fault current and separate out even though it is healthy. So fault stripping may happen. And then there may be several other issues. So protection becomes a very important issue in case of the smart grid. Okay. Apart from this, there may be several other issues also will take place. Okay. So then how do you solve this issue? The one solution is emerging as a microgrid. Okay. So one solution to integrate this kind of upcoming generation sources as a microgrid. Okay, then what is microgrid? Assumes a cluster of loads, generation sources together with a storage device operating as a single controllable module of distribution system and capable of operating both in grid connected and isolated mode. How to tackle all this issue what we have discussed? Apart from that, there will be issue of stability and other thing. Of course, Indian grid, we are not seeing stability issue because our grid penetration is by the renewables just 20%. In future, it may be more. And then that issue also may come up. And in your house only, you have a battery, inverter, you have the vehicle, you may have a solar panel, it becomes a microgrid. Several houses may be connected to the grid. So you may think of several microgrid connected to the network. Okay, then how do you operate these things such a way that you will not have all those issues? Okay, so the microgrid in a bigger scale, may have several other generation source also, not only what you call the photovoltaic system. Okay, so you may have several other DC load, AC load. As you know, current gadgets are becoming a DC. Okay, so in a grid, you will have DC loads like your vehicle battery or vehicle requires a DC. Your most computer, laptop, all these are operating on DC. Okay, so you will have a lot of DC application in your home. Future, you may have a DC fans, DC work, the things, everything works on DC. Okay, so if you have things on DC, then why do you use generator AC? Why can't directly DC can be utilized? Whatever photovoltaic generator you can supply DC load directly. Why do you have a conversion, which will create a loss? Okay, so future you may have a grid where you will have AC load as well as DC. So you may feed certain loads with directly the DC load with your photovoltaic system or a DC things, battery and other things. And then extra power can be converted and fed to grid and then feed to load, AC load. Okay, so future grid is an AC DC. Okay, so you know what is microgrid. Microgrid is nothing but group of loads and generation sources operating in such a way that they will not disturb or they will not change the network parameters in a controllable way. Okay, that's what is a microgrid. So you can integrate them in that fashion. Okay, so all your fuel cell, solar photovoltaic system, all you can integrate in that way. Okay, so what you call, you can in the future grid will have both DC load as well as AC load. It will become a hybrid grid, and all this gadget, everything comes with the power electronics converters, and DC source also will have converters. Okay, even power battery also requires charging and discharging. These are controlled by converters. Okay, so future grid is of several microgrids. Each house may be one microgrid. Each building may be one grid, microgrid. Such microgrid are connected to main grid. So it becomes an hybrid grid. We cannot change entire grid AC, which is working on AC to DC. Okay, so only because it is not possible now. Okay, so you have to have a DC utilization in your home and later convert and supply it to the AC. Okay, so that is how you can have a hybrid system. Okay, so that is what will happen in the future. Okay, so that's what is the what you call, why to continually use the AC application, because DC has its own advantage. Okay, so DC has its own advantage compared to AC. DC system, we do not have reactive power loading, no concept of reactive power, reduced losses, no possibility of synchronizing things, because in case of a DC, you don't have that concept. But the protection issue, because the DC has not have a natural zero, breaking that current, designing a circuit breaker becomes a very important issue in a DC grid. Okay, like now we talk about what you call the India also coming up with its own standard. They have come up with its own standard for DC grid. It's about 48 volt, and there will be what is the operating voltage level in a DC is becoming a very important issue. Okay, so if you have a higher this thing, then the breaking this protection becomes a very important critical things. So protection problem is there, whereas in AC you have a natural zero, protection problem is not there. Okay, so it has its own advantage. The recent trend is because evolving is a lot of DC application are coming, LED becoming a lighting solution, and your gadget, everything getting converted to gadgets. Okay, so you have what you call the AC DC kind of microgrid is a future. Then how do you control? Okay, so controlling becomes very important. Okay, so what as I told you, several houses getting connected. Each house is a microgrid. How do you coordinate them so that voltage and network parameter will not get disturbed? What coming up in the research and becoming almost standard is hierarchical control. First, balance the load at your home. Then, at the what you call a primary control. Then, at the what you call the substation level or local grid level. And such control you will have several this thing. Then, at the main grid level. Okay, so you have a hierarchy control. Okay, so primary control is the fastest control where you can do at your house, where you can adjust so that you can keep the voltage and frequency at that local grid. Okay, still you have several such things. There will be a variation in the voltage and frequency. Again, try to apply a control which is slower in nature. Compared to this control is slower. Okay, so that is called a secondary control. Again, purpose is to regulate the voltage and frequency. And next, which you will have several such buildings are connected. When such buildings are connected, such areas are connected, different microgrids, then you may have, again there may be voltage and frequency, slight variation may happen. You may have to regulate. And you may have to predict, you may have plan for loading and other things. So this tertiary control at the slower time. Okay, the tertiary control is the slowest, secondary next, fastest is the primary control. Okay, so I will show you some result with the primary control, the implementation, what we have done in our, one of my PhD student worked on it to develop a Drupe control scheme using and started with using the real-time Hill tool. Okay, which we will see. And what kind of control, as I told you, you require to have control the active and reactive power. Okay, so there are PQ control becoming almost standardized. You know, some of you might be knowing that PQ control scheme to inject active and reactive power control. Okay, so these what you call the traditional control scheme. Okay, the two loop control schemes, you can see outer loop and the inner loop control scheme. Okay, so the PQ, what you call the through PI controller, you are able to control the active and reactive power injection to the grid. Okay, but when you have multiple DG system, you may not be able to ensure the what you call the ensure the supply from individual DG, okay, in proportion to the requirements. We are using this kind of control. Okay, you may require to have a Drupe control. Okay, so you know that traditionally how synchronous generator will respond to change in the load. Inverter does not have that feature. You have to implement it. Okay, of course, traditionally grids assume that X by R ratio is larger, but the distribution network where R by X ratio is higher, so we cannot use the same control scheme. Traditionally, P is controlled with what you call the power angle. Okay, Q is controlled with the voltage, but what you call in the normal distribution network, R is higher. It will be exact. Okay, exact reverse relation. So you can do with drooping. Okay, same synchronous generator concept can be implemented with a power electronic controller in a microgrid. Okay, so you can have a resistive grid. P is depends upon voltage, not on the frequency. Q is depends upon the frequency. Okay, not on the voltage in case of the resistive grid. Okay, so you can have a reverse this thing. So this again we implemented with with the Drupe. Okay, same control scheme with the Drupe. Coefficients can be implemented. Okay, of course, because of the time is running up. Let me quickly go through these things. Okay, so we can interact later. So this is what is the control scheme for a PQ control implemented in the MATLAB. Okay, you can see the the relations. Okay, so you can implement this in MATLAB or inverter based DG systems. Okay, and we had one of my student worked with the microgrid with major components like a battery, ultra capacitor, and then the fuel cell, the wind turbine. Okay, so he worked with that, and then the electrolyzer, okay, and then the dump load, and then the DC load as well as AC load. Okay, he worked with this microgrid. Okay, we are able to, we could publish that thing, and then with this is a parameter of the system. Okay, so this is the parameter of the system which we have studied. Okay, and then what you call the traditionally the another system we implemented, okay, with the AC DC load. Okay, so this is another this one. So you can see the performance of the microgrid. Okay, so the variation in the wind power. Okay, how individual things are controlled. Of course, the wind is taken as varying in a step. Okay, so how a dump load, all those things are coordinated. Okay, and also how fuel cell, as I told you, fuel cell response is slow. Okay, which can be taken care by electrolyzer. Okay, to supply the requirement, what you call the ultra capacitor to supply the requirement of power. Ultra capacitor gives a large amount to compensate the requirements. Okay, so you can see the performance of the microgrid with variation in the battery, ultra capacitor, electrolyzer power. Okay, okay, and also you can see the DC link voltage variation. Okay, so in that grid we could able to simulate that thing. Okay, you can see the what you call, of course the DC link must be constant because of the variation. It will there is a variation here. Okay, so you should be able to keep it constant. Then the islanded mode, the microgrid can also be operated in islanded mode. Okay, so that's what we did for that grid. And then the other results also we did things with the variation with we can able to see the variation in the so SFC power, wind power, and other things. Okay, and also we had implemented using the Hill tool, real-time Hill tool. The microgrid implementation we did with the real-time Hill tool. Okay, so you might be knowing the Typhoon Hill. Okay, so you can see the implementation here with the Typhoon Hill real-time tool. Okay, this is a Typhoon Hill real-time. You might have heard about OpenRT also. We studied the performance of a 2DG microgrid with the droop control. Okay, implemented in Typhoon Hill. Okay, with advanced with what you call the advanced the PLL based the islanding detection scheme. Okay, so you can see this is the Typhoon Hill control this thing tool, the simulation tool. This, as you know, real time simulation tool gives the more good performance when you want to study in what you call, because some of the things we cannot implement in practically directly. So okay, so you take help of the real-time tool. Okay, so this is what the control scheme which I am just rushing through because of the time is going up. Okay, so there is we developed what you call the droop control scheme. Okay, and this is the PLL based island detection scheme. Same thing can gives, you know, PLL, those who have studied the power electronics controller for inverter system, it's PLL is a part of it to provide a required angle for DQ transformation. Okay, the power transformation things. Okay, so you developed the control scheme for standalone as well as the grid connected mode. This is for a grid connected mode. This is for a standalone mode with droop control. In a grid, the grid will take care of extra requirement. Droop among the DGs has to share the load in case of an islanding. This is an islanding detection technique we had implemented using the PLL thing. Okay, so as you know, you need to match the voltage and frequency, as well as we use the theta that is given by the PLL to know the grid condition. Okay, so reclosure thing, and then with the, you can see the in the grid connected mode how what you call the various the DGs get adjusted, and for changing the load in a grid connected mode, how voltage and the frequency get maintained. Okay, you can see the theta variation. Okay, and then we also studied about the active and the reactive power variation in the grid connected mode. Okay, this gives the active power variation and this gives the reactive power variation with the 2DG system. Okay, and then the standalone mode operation, how theta varies in the standalone this one. Okay, so in the standalone mode of operation, okay, so how the things get how DGs will respond for changing the load, you can see. Okay, so you can see this variation. Okay, because of the time I am rushing through, and then the variation in the standalone mode, various the DG's output and the active and reactive power variation. Okay, so and then the implementation of the islanding detection technique from a grid connected to islanding to grid connected. You can see the theta variation based on the threshold theta. We could able to transfer. This is a seamless transfer. You can see there is no transient here. Okay, so you could able to transfer from grid connect to isolated to grid connected in a microgrid without any transient. Okay, so you can see how the theta varies. Okay, so this we have done with the real-time tool, the Typhoon Hill implementation, and you can see here how synchronization will happen. Slowly it get tracked with the actual reference angle in the grid connected mode, from movement from isolated to grid connected. This is reclosure, synchronization. This is separation from grid connected to islanding. You can see the voltage and the current variation. Okay, so the same with the active and reactive power variation in the grid connected and isolated mode. Remember, in islanded mode, only DG has to supply, no grid will be there, DG has to share. This is done by a group concept. Okay, so this is how what you call the variation is happening for active and reactive power in the grid. Okay, so that is how we have done in our study. Okay, so as you know, the one of the way is in case of the what you call the smart grid is that DG operation, especially the renewables, the wind and solar. Because the wind and solar will keep varying, control becomes a very important issue. Okay, so whatever we do, we need to develop a proper control mechanism. Okay, and provide the solution. Of course, this becomes a very important in the for future grid, because we do see, as you in the Indian context also, we are going to try to increase the renewable penetration. So whatever I discussed so far, the issues are real issues. You can think of taking one particular issue and analyzing and coming up with your own what you call approach. Okay, so you can analyze it. Even microgrid also has a lot of issues with respect to control. Only few issues I have highlighted. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for the what you call the patience hearing. Okay, so madam.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your valuable and very informative sessions given by you, exhaustive lectures, basic concepts, very informative in the labs. You have micro turbine and fuel cells, everything you have briefly explained, sir. Thank you very much for your knowledge sharing, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Sir, can we have a questioning session, sir?
Yeah, I am available for question answering now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So kindly mention where DGs are available in India and what capacity, sir.
So this, as you know, nowadays there are a lot of integration is happening with respect to solar. Even at the institution level also, we also have a 1 megawatt solar plant in our own institution, which is of grid connected. Okay, so several megawatts schemes are also coming up. Okay, and also you know you are very near to you are in the state of Tamil Nadu. They have done a lot of wind and solar integration. Okay, which was a pioneering state for the integration of the wind. This one. Okay, so there are a lot of even every institutions are coming up with the solar and wind integration. And also recently you might have heard in newspaper as well as the public domain that India is have a largest in Asia, the largest solar power plant that is in the Rewa in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, they could able to integrate 750 megawatt kind of a station. Okay, so that is the kind of things we have. Okay, so hope I have answered your question, madam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Uma Maheshwari.
Yes, ma'am.
Kindly read the questions from the chat box, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, there is a question from Muthu Selvan, sir. How is reactive
Sir, tell
power
me, madam.
and frequency control care in solar power?
Tell me, what is
sir.
the question?
Sir, how is the reactive power and frequency control can taken care in solar power plant?
So mainly, as you know, the solar systems are getting interfaced with what you call the power electronic converters. So we do convert what you call what you call use the boost converter and then the inverter. That has become a major or the important what you call the topology for interfacing. Now, in case as you know, the controlling of this grid tie inverter becomes very important in controlling the active and reactive power injected from the what you call your photovoltaic plant. Okay, so by proper control mechanism, both active and reactive, maybe either using the PI controllers or any other kind of a controller, you can exercise the control of active power with respect to reference, whatever you want to inject, as well as reactive power control. So that control scheme is generally called as a PQ control scheme. Okay, so by using this, you can be able to control the active and the reactive power control. Okay, so by properly supplying the required frequency reference, okay, so you can control that is through use. You have a PLL supplies the reference things for the frequency. Okay, through that you are able to transfer from what you call the you are using a power transformation. Okay, so you are able to in case of a grid connected mode, you are only responsible to control the active power. Wherever required, you can exercise the reactive power control. That's what the grid code says. The recent grid code for a PV system says that why can't you utilize the PV inverter itself for control active and reactive power? Okay, so they said the future inverter interface must be capable. Otherwise, what we were doing is we were using only to inject active power. Now the upcoming inverters able to control both active as well as the reactive power. Okay, so by designing a proper control scheme, you can achieve that, controlling the active and the reactive power. Okay, so by doing so, you are able to control the frequency and voltage. As you know, in the distribution network, the voltage can be controlled using the active power injection, and the frequency control can be done by using the reactive power control. That is in a traditional, that is in the actual distribution network. But we are assuming the traditional network and controlling the voltage by using the reactive power support, and by varying the injected amount of active power, you are able to control the frequency. Hope I am able to answer. I have answered the question. Hello, madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. There is another question, sir, from Sharmila ma'am. Any fax devices is used for controlling power?
As you know, there are fact devices. As you know, the fact devices have come up in a large this thing. Not much integration has happened. Only at the transmission level. Even at the Indian context also, we have very limited integration of the fact devices. So there are many fact devices. We have a SVC, TCSR, and then the UPQC, STATCOM, DVR. You know, DVR is one thing which is able to control. You can use, it's a series pack device which is used to control the voltage. Okay, and you have a UPQC shunt pack devices. You have a STATCOM which can be utilized to control. Okay, and then you have a SVC, that is you can utilize to control the voltage, compensate the voltage variation. Okay, so there are hybrid things also coming up. Okay, so you can both, all these things require power electronic things only. So you can utilize them to control the voltage of the grid. Okay, so you can compensate for the voltage variation because they provide a reactive power. You can regulate the reactive power. Either you can make them to absorbers or suppliers. By doing so, you can regulate the voltage. Okay, so you can use the various STATCOMs, DSTATCOM, DVR. There are many devices. Okay, so you can utilize to regulate. Even DG also can be utilized. Nowadays, what people are talking about is the inverter which you are using to interface can do multifunction. We are talking about multifunctional inverter. Recent research papers you can refer. An inverter can be able to control voltage, frequency, compensate for harmonics. All things can be developed. Okay, it can be made as a DSTATCOM kind of a thing. You can do lot of functions. So multifunctional inverters are coming up. Okay, so hope I have answered the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. There's another question, sir, from Shanti ma'am.
Tell me.
How harmonics affect the microgrids? How it affects the other connected devices?
Now, as you know, the harmonics, wherever power electronics interface is there, okay, so there is possibility of injection of harmonics. Always there will be certain amount of harmonics level as per the standards. Okay, the harmonics level, okay, is for a grid connected system. The system should not, the DG system should not inject more than 5%. Okay, so if the harmonics level is more than 5%, this is what I'm talking about, total harmonics, not at the individual harmonics. Okay, we have a file, fifth harmonics, seventh harmonics. Okay, and there are many other level harmonics exist, but these harmonics are more dominant. Okay, so this harmonics once injected into the system will what you call create the problem for this the operation of the loads, because loads getting heated up. Because of this, there will be a what you call this harmonic current will generate its own heat component, and that heat component will heat up the insulation. Because of this, the insulation gets the deteriorated property get deteriorated and create a fault. Okay, so that is how it will create the problem in the system operation. And this individual harmonics also affect the grid in a overall. Okay, so you need to keep this injection to be low than the plus or than the 5%. Of course, for a isolated system, it can vary up to 8% also, because not much loads are connected. It's all even in our control. But grid connected, it's a very strict regulation. It's very strict in for to regulate the harmonics within that's 5%. Okay, so there are individual harmonic standards also there. And as you know, it all depends upon the topology and other things. Okay, that decide your control and other thing that decides the amount of the harmonic which you are injecting into the grid. Okay, hope I have answered the question, madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Participants, you can unmute and you can also ask the questions. Any other queries from the participants?
Ma'am, on behalf of the participants, I would like to thank Professor for his wonderful, excellent session. And I also thank the organizing committee. I did my PG Power System from NIT Trichy. So,
Oh, thank you, madam. Thank you.
very, very grateful to you, sir. You've done
Thank you very much.
We are more blessed to have you for this session, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for the RMD organizing committee. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam, because you invited this thing and also it's helped us to interact with your participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. No more questions, no more. Uma Maheshwari.
Yes, ma'am. There is no questions posted, ma'am.
Kindly tell vote of thanks to
Yes,
for the session, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Uma Maheshwari, APEE department. Thanks to the speaker, participants, and everyone related to this event. Thank you, sir, for your speech. It's very informative about the smart grid operation and control and its related issues and challenges. We are able to enhance our knowledge in this team, and I hope many participants have got a vision to enrich their research work in this team. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you very much.
Kindly fill the feedback form and join the afternoon session at 2 p.m.
Uma Maheshwari, kindly stop recording, ma.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Professor, for your valuable time you have spent along with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. I will leave the meeting.
Yes, sir.